Welcome to Paradelphia Radio. This is Rick Pruitt, once again coming to you on week number 400, it seems, of the Corona apocalypse. And once again, I'm on my back porch, a little bit better lighting this time. And with me, as always, I do have our producer extraordinaire with Toxic, Mr. Toxic Michael.
What do you mean Corona? It's over. There's not even a thing anymore.
What
are you talking about? It's gone.
Never, ever going to be over.
It just disappeared. That's what it does. It flew away like a butterfly. We're all good now. I don't know what the problem is.
That was the original plan. It didn't work out so well.
Just one day it's just gonna disappear like magic.
Right. All right. So this week we're talking about something that is pretty well known in these parts around Philadelphia, but maybe not so much in other parts of the country or other parts of the world, and that's Eastern State Penitentiary.
Dude, that place is amazing.
Yeah, it is.
That place, especially when you go through there during the day.
And with us today, we have a returning Paradelphia crew member from way back. She wrote a book about haunted Salem a couple of years back, and I think it was the last time we had her on the show, maybe three years or so ago.
Oh my God,
Miss Kelly Roncase.
Let's get weird.
Hi guys, how are you?
She is.
Kelly.
What's up?
What's going on, Kelly? It's been quite a while.
It has.
So you're still down there in Salem County, right?
Yes, I am.
Yeah. You taking in any more ghost stories?
No, not too much. Got me a new job, but when I started my new job, I was in this downstairs area. It's in a hospital, and I was right across the hall from the morgue, so I was digging that.
You were digging that. That's not something to dig. That's not something like you get a new job. Like you're across from the morgue, you just look around, and you're like, yes.
Like ooh, put me there. Put me by the morgue.
You're tweeting it out. Guess where they put me?
Yeah.
By the morgue. Everybody in the chat room's like, score.
She's like Facebook tagging herself, like location tagging herself. At the morgue. Yeah, morgue shot.
Morgue shot. Jesus Christ.
So we're gonna be getting into some information about the old Eastern State Penitentiary. Now, you guys have both been there at different times, right? I know, Kelly, you have, and Mike, you said you went there too.
I've been there especially for the Halloween thing that they do there. Right. Which they do a fantastic job. I was actually disappointed the last time. It wasn't as scary, not as cool the last time I went there. I feel like they lost a little bit of their lackluster, but I've been there during the daytime too. It's just a cool piece of history to actually just walk through and be able to kind of time travel to when that was all there with all the history knowledge, the pictures and the written history that you can read about everything in there. It's mind-boggling, but it also literally teleports you mentally back to that time. And I'll tell you what, if you are somebody who, even if you're somebody who doesn't believe in paranormal or ghosts or anything, it creeps you the F out. It does.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an old. We're going to talk about this in a little bit. It's over 100 and almost 200 years old now. Yeah. The prison. So it's one of those old buildings that really didn't change all that much from the early 1800s when it was first built. And it now that it's in kind of disrepair in certain places, it's definitely one of those spooky, weird vibe kind of places you get when you go in there.
It's a little creepy just driving by it.
It looks like a castle.
It looks like a castle, but it's like in the middle of just regular houses and workplace. Like it doesn't seem like that would be there. You're just driving down a side street and all of a sudden, boom, it's in your face. And you're like,
it pops up.
Holy crap. And
it's thrown right in the middle of the city.
Right. It throws you right into it. And I will say that going there on Halloween night after a few drinks is always the right way to do it. Just I'm going to give you my little tip if any of you listeners or people watching at home want to go there and you've never been there, have a few drinks. It helps with the experience.
Have a few first.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Halloween, this is the beginning of our Halloween season. And for me, I'm kind of excited about this because I don't feel like I got a Halloween season last year. Because my diagnosis came out at the beginning of September, and the next 3 months or so were just utter chaos. So we never really got a chance to dig in. We didn't do. I think we did one show last year, with middle of October, for the Ghost Nation episode that we were on, and that's it. That was the only show we did for months. So I kind of feel like Halloween, that whole year, part of the year that I love every year, just kind of passed right by, and I didn't even get to experience it.
Yeah, it really did suck because we had a couple of meetings talking about what were the possibilities, what could we do, where could we go, and it all fizzled out, and it was such a bummer. I mean, obviously, we're past that now, and now we've got COVID, which kind of slaps us in our face too, for round 2 of things. But it did kind of put a big, huge damper on the show and the activities that you had planned. Which is you like to go all out for Halloween with the show.
I like to go different places, and we've done a lot of on location stuff over the years. And that, we were, like you just said, we were going to do that last year. I had some plans to go back down to Creamy Acres, and we had a few different places we were talking about, and it never happened because life got in the way, and as they say, shit happens. So it is what it is. Shit does happen.
I was talking about that on the show before this. Shit does happen, but go ahead. I digress.
No, but we're here now, and it's a new Halloween season, and COVID be damned. We're going to try and do the best we can to, at least have a cool season and do some neat shows. I'll talk at the end of the show. I'll talk about some upcoming interviews I have with some people that for the Halloween season that should be pretty interesting.
Yeah.
So
people in the chat room saying hi to Kelly already.
Kelly hasn't been on for 3 years, but she's still got fans.
Yes, she's a rock star. We all know that.
Interesting. All right, so what I want to do is start out here by talking a little bit about the history of Eastern State, because it's that in and of itself, aside from the hauntings, the history is actually very interesting. If you think about it, when Eastern State was built in the 1820s, it was really the first modern prison in the entire country and really in the entire world. Because before this, think back to, back in like the 1700s, early 1800s, think like Old West. Like when you went to prison, when you went to jail, you went to this little place where you basically waited for your sentence. And you were either let go because you were acquitted, or you were punished, which usually meant you were, hung or whatever. But it was basically prison, jail, so to speak, wasn't a place you went to for any long-term time. It was just a place to kind of hold you for a few days or a couple of weeks until you either got off from your crime or you paid for it.
Right.
And the idea, this idea of kind of just there being no middle ground there, didn't sit too well with some people back in the late 1700s. In fact, there's a guy named Benjamin Rush who got together with, of all people, Ben Franklin here in the city of Philadelphia, and they started this organization. It's kind of a long, weird name, but it's called the Philadelphia Society for Alleviating the Miseries of Public Prisons. Say that one 3 times fast.
Don't want to.
Because again, think about it. Like when you went to prison back then, you were basically being held for your trial or your acquittal. But while you were there, you were basically subject to the whims of whoever was holding you. So there were really no rules. So when you were put in prison, you could have murdered someone, you could have murdered 50 people, or you could have stolen a pack of chocolate bars, and you were in the same place. And once you were there, it didn't matter what you did. You were subject to whatever beatings or God knows what else these prison officials wanted to lay down on you. And so basically it was a situation where people were basically being, completely abused, physically, mentally, physically, and whatnot, abused in these prisons. And so the idea behind Eastern State was to create a prison that was something a little different. It was kind of a middle ground. The reason it was called a penitentiary, if you think about it, penance. When you do penance, you are doing time. You are waiting. You are sitting alone and thinking about what you've done.
It's like a
That's
timeout.
like a timeout, like a big timeout. So this was the idea behind Eastern State, and really any place called a penitentiary, which became a common term after Eastern State was built. But a penitentiary, if you think about the word, it was basically a place where you could go for a long period of time. You weren't just there waiting for your sentence. You were put in there. The time you were spending was the sentence. And I know that seems like it's common sense now,
Right.
but back then that was a whole new idea. You know, you did something wrong, you were punished immediately or soon thereafter, and that was what you got for what you did. It wasn't like, hey, we're going to put you in a place and let you sit there and stew on what you did and think about what you did, like you just said, like a big timeout. Like that wasn't even a thought process back then, until this idea came up in the late 1700s, with this idea to build this prison in Philadelphia. And so what they also wanted to do with this was they wanted to take and modernize this facility. So when Eastern State was built, it was literally the largest freestanding building in the world. So think about that for a second. It was a prison built in the middle of Philadelphia. Of all the places in all the world, it was the largest freestanding building in the world.
It's crazy.
And so they built this thing. If you look at the layout of it, they built this thing. It was basically like a wagon wheel. You had the central hub, which is where the guard tower was, and the admin offices and all that. And then shooting off of the central hub were the different cell blocks, like spokes on a wheel.
Right. And they said that was so that in the middle they could see down the hall of every single hallway
Yes.
from the very center, correct?
Right. So you could keep an eye on all the cell blocks at one time from one central location. And
Mhm.
really, this prison was when I say modernized, like, again, it's not going to sound like much now, but back then, again, you were put in with these criminals who did God knows what, who could do God knows what to you. The guards could do God knows what to you. So when they decided to build this prison, what they did was they built these prisons where with each cell having its own small outdoor area, like a fenced off outdoor area that opened up right from the cell to the outdoor area. So that was something new. So when you had your time in the yard, so to speak, it wasn't like you think of now where you have the general population all goes into one area. You literally had your own little private yard that sat behind the cell you were in. One of the other things they did at the prison that was really revolutionary at the time was they had hot and cold running water, which I know sounds very basic now, but back then, think about this. It was the early 1800s. Nobody had this. The White House at the time didn't have hot and cold running water.
Yeah, so I was going to say they had it before the White House did.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So, yeah. So basically, when they built this prison and it opened in 1829, this was like a little hotel, for lack of a better term. And what they would do with the prisoners, again, you have to kind of think of this whole idea of penance. So what they would do with the prisoners at first, for quite a few years, was they would literally have them wearing hooded masks whenever they would go out and about in the prison. And the idea was that you didn't see anyone else. Like you were supposed to be there thinking about what you did, putting in your time to consider what you did wrong, and you weren't supposed to have any kind of interaction with anybody other than maybe the necessary interaction with the guard who was, giving you your food or whatever it might be. But as far as meeting and seeing other prisoners, it didn't happen. You were there essentially in solitary by yourself, which sounds shitty, but at the same time, considering the alternative at the time, wasn't such a bad deal. All right. So now the first inmate in there, I'll just read this real quick because it's kind of interesting. The way they write up the little quick hits, the little bullet points on the inmates. So the very first inmate number 1 in Eastern State Penitentiary on October 25th, 1829, was a guy named Charles Williams. All right. He was a burglar, and they described him like this. He had light black skin. He was 5 feet 7 inches tall. He had a scar on his nose, a scar on his thigh, broad mouth, black eyes, farmer by trade, can read. His theft included one $20 watch, one $3 gold seal, and one gold key. And for that, he was sentenced to 2 years confinement with labor.
Jesus.
So 2 years confinement for stealing 20 some odd dollars worth of stuff. Now, granted, back then, 20 some odd dollars is probably worth, I don't know, a couple $1,000s now.
Yeah, because you get a cheeseburger for 10 cents at McDonald's.
In 1829? Yeah.
Wait.
Yeah.
I'm going to drink some more.
So now this prison...
I'm saying if you go back there and then go, shut up, go.
Oh, I get it. So anyway, this prison was, it was not a male-only prison. You had men and women in this prison at the same time. And the first female prisoner came in there in 1831. So they had female prisoners in this prison until, I believe it was until the 1920s. They had female and male prisoners. I don't think they mixed them, but they did have them both in the same prison at the same time. Now, the thing with the hoods and whatnot, that kind of went away over time. And the confinement of the prisoners, where you go in there and you sit in your own cell and you don't see anybody else, that also slowly over time went away to the point where, prisoners started to mingle. They started to have, yard, time in the yard with other people and so forth. So it became what you would recognize now as a more modern type of prison eventually back in, the early 20th century and mid 20th century. But at the time when it first started, it was very, very different. It was a whole different idea of how to incarcerate someone. And in fact, it was called the Pennsylvania Plan. That was the idea behind the solitary, the hoods, the amenities like the yard and the running water. It was basically to treat people with dignity, but yet also put them in essentially in solitary confinement. So, when we go on here, we're going to talk a little bit about the hauntings in the prison, and you kind of wonder because with this type of incarceration, I mean, I don't know about you, but this would drive me nuts. Like this,
absolutely,
that would be worse than going to a prison and having a general population meeting. You saw Oz or whatever. All the bad shit that could happen. At least you're intermingling with people. And you have to wonder if a lot of the hauntings weren't because of the fact that these people were just literally driven insane with solitary.
I mean, with modern medicine and modern understanding of the human brain and psychology and they've done these studies, and it's amazing. It amazes me to this day that prisons in this day and age still practice solitary confinement in any way, shape, or form. I understand it's a timeout. I get the idea of a adult timeout, but the idea of solitary confinement and for a couple of days maybe, but for an extended period of time,
right,
a month or more, it does psychological damage.
Oh, this was years.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm just talking months.
Yeah.
You get into years of no interaction. Human beings and our nature is to interact.
Right.
To not do that is just insanity to me, and the fact that we still do that. And back then, without any kind of this knowledge or understanding of what it does to the psyche of a human being, and back then, I'm sure there was no disregard. They just thought it's a prisoner. F them.
Yeah, right. So the prison actually became quite famous and world renowned. In fact, some famous people came and knew about the prison. One was Charles Dickens. Back in 1842, Charles Dickens visited the United States to see Niagara Falls, but on his way, he stopped in Philadelphia to see Eastern State Penitentiary.
Right.
I guess to compare it to, if you read Charles Dickens, a lot of his books have to do with child labor and the penal system in England.
Penal.
Kelly jumps in.
I haven't changed a bit. Not a bit.
So anyway, he came here and he wrote that the system, these are his words. He said the system, meaning the system at Eastern State, is rigid, strict, and hopeless solitary confinement. And I believe it and its effects can be cruel and wrong. So as bad as he saw things over in England, he came and looked at Eastern State and said, "Yeah, this has got to go."
Right.
You know. So they built on cell blocks as you went through the years. 4 new cell blocks were built in 1877. 1911, they built cell block 12. And as they built these different cell blocks, they obviously expanded the prison and expanded the population in the prison to the point where it became kind of almost the go-to prison, so to speak, for people in this part of the country. I think we just lost some lighting here. That's fun.
Oh boy!
It's a
Oh my
ghost.
God! It's a ghost.
It's a ghost.
They didn't like the joke Kelly made.
Yeah, I know. So
Penal.
yeah. So the prison has had over the years some famous inmates. The first one that always comes to mind, obviously, is Al Capone. Al Capone went to Eastern State. It was actually the first prison he was ever put in.
Yep.
Was Eastern State Penitentiary, and if my computer decides to cooperate here, I can tell you all about it. There we go. Wi-Fi, you know how that goes.
I mean, I don't even know how that works. I mean, I don't even know how magnets work. I mean, how the hell do they work?
So Alphonse Scarface Capone, Chicago's most famous mob boss, spent 8 months in Eastern State, 1929, 1930. Arrested for a concealed weapon, and it was his first prison sentence. His cell, though, was sort of like having Park Avenue. He had fine furniture, Oriental rugs. They let him have a radio. Perks. The perks of being Al Capone. Another one was Victor Babe Andreoli, who was convicted of killing a Pennsylvania state trooper in 1937. He was put in Eastern State for serving a life sentence on first-degree murder. He escaped, though, in 1943. Apparently, he hid in a delivery truck that was leaving the prison, but eventually police caught up with him in Chester, PA, at a diner where he was shot dead. So, didn't work out so well for Babe. Another one, this is kind of interesting, Morris the Rabbi Bulber. All right, so Morris the Rabbi entered Eastern State in 1942 and started serving a life sentence because he was a member of an arsenic murder ring located in Philadelphia.
My God.
So he was called a veteran witch doctor and compounder of charms. And he was one of the leaders of this group. Apparently, this group appealed to women who were willing to murder their husbands in order to collect insurance policies. So this group, this murder ring, this arsenic murder ring, basically was like contract killers that would set up, I guess, the arsenic in drinks and whatnot, or tell the women how to do it, and they would then help them to kill their husband for the insurance money, of which I'm sure they got a piece. All right, so let's see here again.
I like that they start a business out of it. I like that.
Yeah, well, you got to be an entrepreneur. I mean, you
gotta. I mean, it's a living.
You got to have ambition.
So, of the approximately 100 inmates that escaped Eastern State, only one got away with it, and that is a guy named Leo Callahan. He got in there. He was put in there for assault and battery with intent to kill, and he got out because he made a makeshift wooden ladder. And him and 5 other inmates built the ladder piece by piece and climbed over the wall. So I'm not really sure how you go about building a ladder the height of those walls. Those walls have to be 50 or 60 feet high. So I'm not sure how you build a ladder that tall and not be noticed by the guards, but it is what it is.
I mean, piece by piece. Maybe they had every piece, and then they were like, assemble and just start building it real fast,
like a transformer.
That's what I was trying to get at.
Transformer assemble ladder,
or like what are those? Why I'm old as dirt.
Wonder Twins.
Not Wonder Twins. What the hell is wrong with you? No Wonder Twins.
Wonder Twins assemble ladder.
I'm trying to think of what is it? There's different colors of them. They're red and black and white.
Legos.
No, not Legos.
I don't know.
Everybody's gonna hate me once I say this, and I have no idea.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh my God, Power Rangers.
Oh, okay.
I almost said that,
Assemble.
but I wasn't sure if that's what you were talking about.
Oh, because I think the Power Rangers are stupid. All right, continue. Now that I said that, bring out the
Could have made
haters.
the ladder though, so yeah.
So I mentioned there were female inmates. The last one in Eastern State was a girl named Freya Frost. She was in there. She was last female inmate. They had females in there for 100 years, but she was the last of the female inmates in 1923 when she got out. That was the end of women being admitted to Eastern State. She served a 20-year sentence for murder. Again, she poisoned her husband. It was like a thing back then. You poisoned your husband, I guess. Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Why not?
Right. So, so that was basically.
You know what? Because it's the bitches that'll get you.
So that was some of the most notable prisoners. But again, over the years, Eastern State has been known to have hauntings in certain areas of the prison, and that's kind of where I brought Kelly in today, because she wrote a book a couple of years back. It wasn't about Eastern State, but I do know that she is very knowledgeable about these things. And she's gone to the prison, and I know you've taken tours there, right, Kel? You've done tours.
I've investigated there.
Yeah.
And I actually was part of the Terror Behind the Walls one time.
Okay.
I got to be a scary person for one night there and scare people. It was great.
Without giggling?
No, I didn't giggle at all. I was scary.
I was scary.
I was super scary.
All right.
Rawr.
Yeah.
I'm a lion.
I just feel like
I guess I was a lion. I don't know.
knowing Kelly, I just don't imagine being scared by her. But I'm believing you.
Okay.
Jump out from a wall. Boo! Did I scare you? You all right? Did I scare you?
What is
so? Huh?
Nothing. I'm sorry. I've read something that was weird in the chat room. Laura says there was a lot of domestic abuse and nobody cared because women were property.
Well, I mean, that is a good point. Yeah. I mean,
every time I look and see women are property, it's weird to me.
I mean, you don't want to justify murder. I mean, it is, murder is murder. But at the same time, yeah, I get what she's saying there. Yeah, there weren't the same type of social norms that there are now. And yeah, women were mistreated often back then. So, yeah, I mean, you do what you have to do to get out of a bad situation, I guess.
Make the guy a sandwich and go Kelly.
So, Kel, what do you want to talk about here first? You said you've had some experiences there yourself, or do you want to talk about like historical stuff?
Talk about that. One of the very first times that I went there, and I was doing like a investigation, but not like with us. Like I was doing an investigation with like other people. I was part of a group, and we went into cell block 4, which is a really creepy area. We went in cell block 4. And the person that was leading the tour said, okay, everybody pick a cell and sit down in front of the cell. Because as you know, like there's a little step up, like a little step into the cell, each of the cells. You know how like the doors are little. So I'm like, okay, I feel weird. Like a lot of times I do investigations. I don't feel anything. I don't feel weird. I'm like, whatever. This time I was feeling weird. I'm like, man, I don't know about this. So I had a sweatshirt jacket on. It was long, like it hung down past my waistline, And I sat down in front of this cell block, and all of a sudden, my back of my jacket went woo up like that, like somebody lifted it up from.
Did it make that noise too?
Yeah, and I was like, I hopped up, and I was like, nope, I ain't sitting in front of that cell no more. Heck, no way. So that was years ago. That was a long time ago, and it was cell block 4. So just a few years ago, I went to investigate again with jumps. I don't know if you were with us, Rick, or not.
I was not on that tour, no.
Okay. So we had after hours. It was just us. We had like one tour person with us, and we got to go wherever we wanted. So we went to cell block 4 again. So I'm down almost to the very end of cell block 4, and I was kind of getting bored, and I leaned up against the stone wall. I'm like, okay, whatever. And all of a sudden, like, you know how when you can feel somebody that's like real close to your face, like you can tell somebody's in your face.
Right.
So I feel that feeling like somebody's in my face, and I'm like, there's somebody in my face. Well, one of the other girls that was there, she's like real sensitive. She can see things. And she was like, yeah, it looks like there's a guy about 6 feet tall, like in your face. And I was like,
that's no.
Cool. Okay. So I put my hand down. I said, okay, if you're standing here, hold my hand. And my arm just kind of went tingly and stuff. And I was like, okay, that's enough. I'm good. I'm good. Thanks, friend. I'm out. So I just kind of moved from that area. But cell block 4 at Eastern State, yeah, there's something going on there. Oh, and go back, rewind. The first time after my jacket moved and everything, at the end of that little investigation time, we went back into the main hub, and the guy that was with us said, so I just want to tell you a story about cell block 4. Back in, I don't know, 1920, whatever, there was a prisoner in cell block 4 who was not eating right, and he was like getting all sick and whatever, and they were putting stuff in his food, like nutritional stuff, like so that he wouldn't get sick, and he thought they were trying to poison him. So when the guard came to give him his lunch one day, he like beat him to death with his lunch tray, and then he laid down and took a nap. So was that the guy messing with my jacket and in my face? Who knows?
As you do.
As you do, you go take a nap after doing that. I mean, it exudes a lot of energy, and then next thing you know, you got Kelly in your cell, and you got to get up in her face.
I mean, you're already in prison. What are they going to do?
Yeah.
Right? What are you gonna do?
What are they going to do?
If I have any of those experiences while I'm in Eastern State Penitentiary that Kelly just said, I am running.
Oh, no.
I'm running, and I'm yelling, it's not real.
But I've also had experiences there, like where, especially during the day, like I'm the weirdo that'll walk through and just find an empty cell and go and sit in it. And it's actually sometimes comforting, oddly. I don't know.
It's oddly comforting to sit in a cell.
By yourself? That
by
you know
myself.
might be haunted?
Uh-huh.
What?
You know how weird I am.
That's like people are walking by and they think you're a ghost just sitting in a cell by
Right? Like,
yourself.
oh, so silly.
She's a weird lady.
Yeah.
She looks like she's talking to somebody. She made a friend. Wow.
So now when you
Wow,
were there,
I wouldn't even do that.
Oh, it's
Creepy.
So Kel, when you were there doing the investigation with Jumps, did you guys get any kind of specific evidence?
Oh God, it was so long ago. I can't even remember exactly what we got. I just remember that was like the biggest thing that happened for me was in cell block 4 when the dude was in my face. I think there was more, but I'd have to go back and like, because it was so long ago. I can't remember my brain.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's go ahead.
Almost every time I go there, something weird happens.
Was anything weird happen when you were there for the Halloween stuff? Or is there so
No,
much
but
going on?
I think there's too much going on, but the one thing that I always try to do and I always pay attention to when I go there is there's one area where ghost hunters went years ago when they investigated Eastern State, and it's you go up these stairs when you're doing the Halloween tour, like the terror behind the walls. You have to go up these stairs, and there's this long cell block, and lights are flashing, and this and that and the other thing, and that's the same exact spot where Grant, remember Grant from Ghost Hunters years and years ago, he saw an apparition up there. So whenever I go up those stairs during the Halloween, during the terror behind the walls, I always say, "Hi, ghost, are you up here?" Like I'll talk to them, but they never come talk to me.
You have one of the actors there just comes up behind you, goes,
No, and
"Hi."
that's another thing, because I got to be pretty close with the people that worked there because from when I worked with the newspaper, I covered it a lot. And they used to have somebody stationed up there at the top of those stairs. Nobody would stay. Like none of the actors would stay up there. I said, I will. I'll do it.
Of course you would. Of course you would. I'm there.
I'll do it.
Nobody else wants to do it. They're all trying to pick who's going. You're like, me.
Put me up there.
Yeah.
Put me in, coach. Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
I'm impressed.
Neat place.
It's definitely interesting because you know again you have so much. I mean, prisons in general, you have so much misery that goes on in places like that. But this place in particular, with the solitary confinement that they used early on in the history of the prison, again, it's just it had to have driven people mad to be in that situation for an extended period of time. And you figure if you pass away like that, you're not going to be the happiest camper when you get to the other side and realize that you were, put in that situation.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
I mean, what's that?
I said, oh yeah. I'm looking at this picture I just brought up, and it made me think of the parts in there when they would tell you about like the medical rooms and all that kind of stuff in the building that were just horrific in their own right. And just crazy. I'm having flashbacks. I'm gonna have nightmares tonight. I'm just saying it.
Yeah,
Gonna have nightmares.
Because again, you got to think, like, as much as it was meant to be this upgrade in terms of treatment of prisoners, I guess it was that at the beginning, but over time, we kind of devolved back into the typical, type of prison you come to know and hate nowadays. It just became something else, and it became a larger version of what you had before you had Eastern State.
I just had this conversation with somebody with COVID going on right now, and businesses starting to open up. I just had the conversation that businesses opening up right now, everybody's like, oh, I don't want to go the first couple of weeks. And my thought process was, no, the best time to go is the first couple of weeks, because that's when they're going to be the most clean. That's when they're paying attention to all the mandates. That's when they're trying to show customers, no, come back. We're going to do everything. But human nature is to fall back into the norm. It's human nature to fall back into what the day-to-day grind of doing things. And that kind of makes sense for something like this, when everybody that they hire, if they have any experience in any other prisons or any other medical facilities within prisons, and that's the norm, it is something to say that you're going to do this and to start off. But then you see that if every other prison in the world is operating this way, there's a reason at that time that they would all just fall back into the norm in terms of what they're supposed to be doing. And that just becomes a horrible, horrible place to be.
Right.
That's the way I look at it.
So before we start going toward the end of the show here, I do want to touch back on the book you wrote, Kel. A couple of years back, it was Haunted Gloucester, Salem, and Cumberland Counties. I know it's still in print. I see it when I go into Barnes and Noble and whatnot. You still there?
Yeah, she's holding up a copy of it, and I put a nice picture of the book up on the screen so everybody can see.
So now, do you have any favorite stories out of this book?
Oh man, I haven't read this book in a while.
Well, you wrote it.
It's her own book. Also, you can get it at arcadiapublishing.com. I got a nice image of where you can go get it, which it's on sale right now. So
yeah, and like I said, I know I've seen it in like places like Barnes and Noble, so you can also go.
Yeah,
to
they've been carrying it in the Walgreens too.
Okay.
Walgreens in the local area.
So this book, if I remember correctly, when I had you on the show before, this is basically a book that kind of chronicles investigations you did while you were with Jumps.
Yeah, a lot of it. It starts out with how I got interested in the paranormal, like when I was a little girl and like weird things happened and I didn't know what it was back then. But then I got older,
what kind of weird things?
Well, I remember the first time. And this is so goofy because I don't even know. Like, and you think back about things when you were a kid, and you're like, "Well, was it not?" You probably know what I mean,
right?
So, the very, very first time my parents ever left me home when they went to the grocery store, right? I'm the coolest. I am home by myself. I'm cool, right? So I come out of my room.
She was 24 at the time.
She was 24.
Woo! I come out of my bedroom at one point, and like we had a stereo out in the rec room area, and it was the kind where you had to go like that, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like record player, you had to bring the button all the way down and then bring it up halfway to turn it
I'm
on.
I'm old. I remember.
He is old.
So I came out of my bedroom and my parents weren't home, and the record player did that and like turned on by itself, and I looked at it and it was spinning, and I went right back in my room. I was like, oh no, I'm waiting for mom and dad to get home. What is going on? So, but again, you think back and you're like, did it really? But I remember seeing it. I don't know. And then when I was a kid, we used to go to this place, like this old church area, and there was steps that led down to the basement, and I never liked to go by the basement steps. Nothing weird ever happened. I just always felt weird there. You know what I mean? Like I would be fine everywhere, and I'd go near the basement steps and be like, nah, I don't like that. Well, come to find out later in life, it had been like an old, like a social club type thing, and down in the basement was where all the men went, and women weren't allowed down there. Like that's where they played pool and they played darts and all that jazz, and the women could not come down there. That was the men's area. So when
played
I
hide
got
the
near
salami.
those basement steps,
I wasn't gonna say it. I wasn't gonna say it.
what did you say?
I was insinuating. I gotta love Rick when he goes straight for it. He said play hide the salami.
Ew. Not with the ghosties, but yeah, so that was a weird, and that was when I was a little bit younger too. So then I thought I was just being like a scaredy cat. We shut up, Michael.
Oh, sorry.
But then I realized it was.
I just love how she goes, not with the ghosties. No, we met with each other.
Okay.
Okay.
But that's where the book starts, and then it goes on to different investigations that we participated in and what happened during those, including Barrett's Plantation Bed and Breakfast, which is a great place in Mannington, and something happens every time we go there.
I did go there. Yeah.
Yes, you did. Yep.
That was the investigation where Gene was talking to the little boy in the room.
Yes.
Yeah. Right.
And I always took toys along with us when we went there, like little trucks and stuff, and try to get them to move and all. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. It was interesting. Yeah. I think we shot her with, was it infrared camera or something like that, and they picked up something. Or no, it wasn't the infrared. It was the
stick
yes,
figure.
the Xbox.
Uh-huh.
The modified Xbox. So yeah.
And we also did the flashlight game there before, and it worked really well.
Right.
Like the
the flashlight game.
Yeah. You know that one?
That is. No.
Okay. So you get
feels like a game I played with girls back in high school.
Not that kind of flashlight.
It's not so very different.
So you get a couple flashlights and you turn the end so that it's just off. So that if you just tap it, it comes on. And then you use those flashlights to communicate. So you'll say, okay, if the answer is yes, make the light come on. If the answer is no, make the light go off. And a lot of times it works really good.
Because then you just tap the table and it turns on.
Yeah, you just no.
I'm just kidding.
I know. I did that at Eastern State in Death Row, actually.
Jesus, you get to go to all the cool places.
Because I'm the coolest.
That is true. We did say she's a rock star at the beginning of the show.
We did.
We did.
Fans and whatnot.
Yeah.
Cooler
than all of us.
So again, what the name of the book and where they can get it, Kel?
Name of the book: Haunted Gloucester, Salem, and Cumberland Counties. You can get it online at arcadiapublishing.com or Amazon or any of those, barnesandnoble.com also. Or you can get it on the shelves at Barnes & Noble. You can get it at a local Walgreens in one of those 3 counties. Or you can message me on Facebook and I can get you one and sign it and all that fun stuff.
Cool.
Or she will read it to you over the phone.
Do that too.
Word by word.
Since I haven't read it myself in a while, I should do that.
So do you have anything new coming up, Kel? Anything you're writing now?
No, actually, I kind of shifted gears. I got a new job. I'm in marketing now, which is really similar to what I've always done. But I'm in marketing at a hospital. Like I said, I started out near the morgue. So I'm hoping to, get established, I'm going to be like, so can I stay here overnight and hang out with the morgue? Because it's an old hospital. It's been there for a long time.
Right.
I'm sure that will not raise any red flags at all.
Right.
Nope.
Can I just take my lunch in the morgue?
Don't mind me, guys.
What's wrong with this girl?
She's eating a ham sandwich over top of somebody.
Right. All right. Well, definitely got to go out and pick up that book. I have a copy. I believe I got one years ago, and it's interesting. A few of those investigations I was on, a few of them I was not. So it's all local to here in South Jersey. So anybody living in this area, obviously it would be interesting to them. They can actually do like road trips and day trips and go see these places. But
I've actually been trying to advertise it to parents that are homeschooling at this point in this COVIDness. Like to get that, it's a good history lesson because there's also a lot of history about the different places, and then take a field trip and ride by the places. I think that'd be pretty fun for the kids.
There you go.
That'd be really cool. I like that idea.
There you go. All right. So, like I told you at the beginning of the show, this is the start of the Halloween season. So, as such, I've got some plans, some balls in the air. I'm juggling, trying to get some. Why, Kel? Why?
Mike did it first.
That's it. As long as Mike did it first, she could jump next.
Right. So I'm trying to get a few cool interviews here for the next few weeks, and I actually have a couple next week that I am going to be talking to. That we'll. I'm not sure when they'll be aired, but we're going to have them for future episodes. Patty Negri, who, if the name sounds familiar, she is a psychic medium that has worked extensively with the Ghost Adventures crew.
Nice.
And she is going to come on and talk about her experiences with the Ghost Adventures TV show, as well as her own personal experiences as a medium. And the other interview I'm doing next week is going to be with a gentleman by the name of Sal Santoro, who is an occult expert. And he's going to come on and talk about his experiences and his knowledge about the occult and witchcraft and all those Halloween spooky things that kind of come into play this time of year. So that's going to be a couple of the future episodes that we do. And we're going to have to add some more to that list here, because once we get into October, I want to start working toward Halloween. One of the other things I'm going to do this year, I didn't do it last year because of all the chaos in life. But the year before, on Facebook and on social media, I was posting, I think it was once a day during October, I posted a new scary movie. Some of them were older movies. Some of them were like, 80s slasher movies, just different stuff. So I'm going to try and do that this year and post a new movie. Maybe I'll throw some audio stuff in there too. There's always good audio recordings of horror stuff. What's up, Mike?
Should we do? I like this idea. When it gets like right on top of Halloween. What day is Halloween? I don't even know.
Saturday.
But is it a Saturday?
Yeah.
So the Thursday before Halloween, as long as you have a show, we all come on. And since there's a video aspect and it's a very big aspect to the show of people watching live, we all come dressed. We all dress up for Halloween for the show.
Costumes?
Come on. I've got a bunch of costumes. I'll bring out the Deadpool. Let's do this.
All right, we can do that.
All right.
It'll be, was it Saturday 31st or 29th?
Yeah.
So October 29th. We'll do
get
the
dressed
show.
Up.
I'm not sure what the show. Go ahead.
You do like a whole Halloween, like what, obviously you've probably talked about it before, but maybe rehash like Halloween's all about and things that have happened on Halloween and stories and all that kind of stuff.
There's actually there's a book I'm looking into now to research for the show. It's about exactly that. It's about the history of Halloween and all that stuff. So maybe we'll save that topic for just before Halloween, and we'll do that night.
Boom. Brilliant. Right here.
All right. Mike's idea. Don't forget it was Mike's idea.
Hashtag Mike's idea.
Hashtag Mike's idea. All right. So it's been a fun evening. And I want to thank Kelly for coming on and joining our crew once again. You can't wait 3 more years to come back on, Kel.
I won't. I promise.
You'll have more fans if you come on more often.
No, she's a rock star. She's got other rock star stuff to do. She's got gigs and places and things that are going on all over the place at all times. She's gotta be that rock star, live that rock star lifestyle.
So once again, we'll put a link in the show notes for Kelly's book, but it's Haunted Salem, Gloucester, and Cumberland counties. And you guys can pick that up and read that over the Halloween season. There's no better time to read a book like that than this time of year. Mm-hmm. Get your orange pumpkin frappe light or whatever you get, whatever the hell they're called.
Whatever. Pumpkin spice everything. Look, if I hear one more thing about pumpkin spice, because through this whole pandemic, I've been going shopping for mom, and mom, every time I'm at the friggin' grocery store, anything that's pumpkin spice, I have to call it out. So I have to not just get what she needs, I have to scan the shelves for everything pumpkin spice.
I'm in pain right now because of my surgery and because there's certain foods I can't eat right now. One of the things I cannot and have not been able to do is drink coffee. And I lived for pumpkin spice coffee.
Oh, you're such a white girl.
So now I go into I go into Wawa and I see they have like free, to make it worse, they have free coffee for teachers. So I go in there now. I'm like, oh, damn it, I can't even get the free shit, you know?
It's torture, bro. That's torture.
Yeah, but it is what it is.
It is
what it is.
What it is.
All right. So again, I want to thank Kelly for coming on. Kelly Roncase
Thanks
and
for
her
having
book,
me.
The Haunted Salem, Gloucester, and Cumberland Counties. Pick that up. It'll be in the show notes. Mike, thanks for doing the production again.
Go
as
get
usual.
that stuff. Yes.
And we will be back next week with an all-new kick-ass show of Paradelphia. But for right now, I am Rick. For Kelly and Mike, we are out of here.